Peace. This is one of my favorite hours all week. I get to have lunch with really amazing people doing amazing things. And I want to welcome Terra Leavell, who is with us. She is the president and CEO of the Black Community Development Corporation. And I've just been a fan. I've known Terra in a variety of ways, and just been a fan of the work that she's doing, not only the work that she's doing, but just who she is. And that's what Louisville Evolutionaries gives us a chance to talk to the people about the story or about their life that inspires their work, while also getting into some of the details about the work they're doing. So Terra, I just want to say thanks for giving us time. And when we can meet face to face, Terra, I do owe you lunch. So you're gonna have to hold me to that.
I will. I'll take you up on it.
So yeah, when we can do that, lunch is on me when we can get together. I want to welcome those of you that are joining us on Facebook Live. Feel free, if you're are joining us on Facebook Live, to add a comment or a question for Terra, and we'll bring that into our conversation. We always like to hear the things that you're thinking and the things that you're interested in, and we'll make those part of our conversation. Well, Terra, thanks for joining us today. And if we could start, introduce yourself just a little bit more and give us a kind of a time frame of your life in 3 to 5 minutes, so we can know a little bit about your story, and then we'll get into some other questions. Thanks for being with us today.
Sure. Well, thanks for having me. This is something different for me at lunchtime. So I appreciate the time you're spending with me. So I was born in Owensboro, Kentucky, to Hetty and Joseph Crow. My name was Crow. Lived all of my young life through high school in Owensboro, grew up there. Then I moved to the big city, if you will, of Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh yeah, the metropolis.
I went off to college. I attended Western Kentucky University. Went there, and I'll tell you, I really did feel like I was moving to a bigger city, which it technically is not. But because of the campus and so many people and new people, it just felt like I had moved to New York. Then I met my now husband at Western. My goal was to always move to Nashville, but I met him, and he was actually from Louisville, Kentucky. And during the time I was in college, my mom actually, my parents had divorced, and my mom remarried and moved to Louisville as well. So I felt like my fate was calling me to Louisville, Kentucky, right? So then I honestly moved to the big city. When I got to Louisville, Kentucky, I felt like I had kind of hit the jackpot. Still felt a little like Owensboro, but way more to do than Owensboro or Bowling Green, Kentucky, right? So got here, and my first job was at a bank, National City Bank.
What was your undergraduate? What did you study in? Business, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And thought I would do communications, but that was a little bit too much. I like to talk kind of when I want to, but I wouldn't want to do it for a living, I don't think. So just business. And moved to Louisville, like I said, and had my first big corporate job. My husband and I got married, and we lived in Kentucky Towers, which is downtown Louisville. And this has been 29 years ago at this point. But living in downtown Louisville in a high rise, if you will, I had just really hit the jackpot. I had this wonderful husband, this corporate job at the bank right down the street from where I lived in this high rise apartment in Kentucky Towers. So,
and how old were you then? Were you in your early 20s?
I was 22.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yes, I had done a whole lot. In that, and I was just about to say, I mean, literally, I felt like from birth to moving into my first apartment at 22, I had done so much, and I had so arrived, if you will. Now looking back on that, Joe and I laugh all the time because at that time, both of us combined made a whopping, I think, like $24,000.
I remember those. Yeah, I remember when I was 25, I made $16,000, and I was happy as a lark.
Oh, I mean, we literally was like, we were rock stars,
Yeah.
But those were the good old days, and so that's, that got me to Louisville. That's kind of my journey. And I do, and we'll get into this a little bit, I'm sure. But a lot of, I guess, my rationale for things and my perspective on things come from my upbringing, I think, in Owensboro. I would never move back to Owensboro to live today, but I would not ever change growing up in Owensboro, if that makes any sense. And I think when I tell you a little bit more about my journey, that it should make perfect sense.
Yeah. Well, we'll get back to that. Now, how about the jobs you've had that kind of bring you up to what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I, again, was in banking and kind of moved up. I started as like in this clerical department called the service center in the bank. And then I went into their management program, training program, and I started managing a branch at Hancock and Broadway. And then really got more into training, new hires and that kind of thing. I didn't like the banking part of it. I liked the people part of the bank. And so I got into corporate training and left National City and went to First Star as a corporate trainer for the bank. That had me traveling a bit. And then I actually, my son was born. And so the travel piece of it was too much and needed to kind of come off the road. And I remember reaching out to Juanita Sands, she's passed away now, but she was the workforce development person with the Louisville Urban League. And I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm going to be looking for a job. I don't know what I want to do. And so she actually said, well, why don't you come work for me? We need somebody to develop our training programs here at the Urban League. So that was my entry into the nonprofit world.
I see. Yeah.
Was just kind of on a fluke almost. But it started my journey in nonprofit. And I, really haven't looked back since. I just, fell in love, of course, with the mission of the Urban League, and then moved on to the American Cancer Society, and that was more where I got my development experience in nonprofit work. Went to work for Simmons College of Kentucky. That's where my administrative skills kind of blossomed. I was the director of operations for that school during their merger and transition into the school it is today. And left there and went to Actors Theater.
Oh, wow.
And was in corporate corporate management for about a year. I was not there long. And after that, I went over to Canaan Community Development Corporation, which is now the Black CDC.
Oh, okay.
So
the name changes. Yeah,
we had the name change, and the founder and CEO, Walter Malone Jr., I worked under him for about 7 years. And then he decided it was time for him to kind of step back, and the board promoted me to president and CEO. And so that we had a disconnect from the church, we renamed and kind of rebranded the organization, but it is still one of the same.
And when we get into, I want to talk some more about community development corporations, about that model, what that is, and because I really feel like that's a good model for a variety of things. But we'll get into that in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you. That kind of brings us up today. So one of the things we like to do with Louisville Evolutionaries is we like to do our Louisville conversation cards. These are the cards that we use at the big table. When we used to be able to have potlucks together, which we can't anymore. So now we do them online. So there's 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3, and then there's 10 cards. So I'll have you pick a level between 1 to 3, and then a card from 1 to 10.
So let's do 2 and 8.
2 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, Tara, the cards you have chosen. What roles do you love and affection? What roles do you love and affection? No, I'm reading this completely wrong. What roles do you love and affection play in your life? What roles do love and affection play in your life?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was reading that wrong.
Yeah.
And who loves you well? I like that question. What roles do love and affection play in your life, and who loves you well?
So, okay, well, I think now love and affection plays a huge role in my life. I can say that now, not so much probably before, but I think the older I've gotten, it means more. Now, who loves me well? Gosh, I mean, there's so many. Okay, so let me just think about who could possibly see. No.
Who's on?
So I'm going to go with a very safe answer. And I'm going to say my son, Joe.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because he and I are a whole lot alike. You know, we think a whole lot alike. And he gets me, right? I get him, he gets me. And so he actually loves me the way I've like intentionally tried to love him. And he gives it right back. And so I do my best in loving him the way I feel like he appreciates it and gets it. And so in return, it's, I get it back almost the same way. So, so I think he loves me well.
Yeah.
There's other people that love me well too, but I'm going to stick with my Joey.
Great. And how old is he now?
So Joey is 26. I 26. Talk about it still to people like he's 12. And he'll always be my Joey. And I've told my husband and everybody else, anytime, as long as he, doesn't like have a wife and kids, he's always welcome to live with me. He can live with me for his entire life if he wants to. He doesn't. He lives in Atlanta.
Well, that's usually what happens. It's when you tell a kid they can live with you forever, they're the ones that are most likely to move out.
That's right. He left us in New York, and then he said that was too expensive, and he came home for like a hot second, and then he left and moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
But he always has an open door with me.
Well, 3 cheers for Joey.
That's right.
Well, let's get into some others. Tara, I'm really interested in, you find yourself doing, community development work, specifically working in the Black community. What do you think are the experiences that shaped, that this is like the personal experiences that shaped why you do the work that you're doing, and how do you find yourself here? Have there been significant moments or experiences that you think have shaped that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I am from Owensboro, Kentucky, and Owensboro, Kentucky is predominantly white. Out of, I don't know what the population is now, but probably the year I left, it was maybe about 75,000 people and maybe 4,000 Black people. So not many, right? But growing up in Owensboro, I never felt, I wouldn't say I ever really felt racism. It was, I knew that we were a minority, but my grandmother was like the first African-American woman to own a business. My mom had a corporate job. My dad had a great job, so we lived well. So I didn't feel any kind of way. But when I left to go to college and I arrived on the campus of Western Kentucky University, I left and I went with 3 of my closest, dearest friends who were all white females. And we all knew we were going to Western. We all had red cars that had the WKU license plate and towel in the back, ready to go. Our parents all drove us down there. And literally, Jud, when we got to that campus, it was like, we just, you know, I ended up here and they ended up there. And we would see each other on campus, but we never interacted after that. And it wasn't, we weren't mad at each other or anything like that, but it was kind of like it was understood and we just knew, oh, okay. Now, it was a shock for me because I had never been around that many Black people.
Yeah.
You know, my entire life. And so I was just like amazed and mesmerized by all the people that I met from Nashville, from Louisville, from different places. That's when I kind of heard about sororities and fraternities. And so I joined a sorority. I mean, it was just like an eye-opening experience for me in terms of Black people. But then hearing some of the stories that I heard from my new friends that were not at all like stories I had, was kind of like, But I then started to feel and see the things that they felt and saw, which completely changed my look on certain things. I would go back to Owensboro during breaks, and then I would see all of those things that I didn't see, you know, growing up. And I thought, oh gosh, you know, this, so what am I going to do? You know, so I get to Louisville. I'm working in corporate America. I'm working in a bank on Hancock and Broadway. And I don't know if you know where Hancock and Broadway is.
Sure, of course, yeah.
Well, you know, 20 years ago, because 20-something years ago is when I worked at that bank. We were the first branch that had those machines that spit out the money, so that if you were robbed, you could say you couldn't get the money, because that branch was robbed like once a week.
Oh, wow.
Until I got there, I was never in a robbery, ever. And I do equate some of that to how I treated the people. I was the first Black manager at that branch.
Yeah. So everybody, all the other managers were white, even though it was in
yeah. And they didn't actually have the right identification. You know, I wasn't gonna just send them out. I understood why they probably didn't have it. Yeah. And so, you know, I was able to build relationships with my people that I could clearly see didn't happen before. So, and it was because I had been in kind of both worlds and was looking through both lenses all the time, right? Yeah. I had all the things that I knew, and just couldn't imagine that somebody was being treated this way, because it just didn't happen that way. And I grew up with all white people, and they didn't treat me that way. So it was a kind of a battle, you know, if you will, as to how I kind of looked at things. But I do think that that is why I have a passion and a commitment to build and empower Black people.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. So tell us about the Black Community Development Corporation. That's fairly new, although the models of development corporations have been around for a while. Talk some about specifically that and what you do, and what do you think are some of the edges right now for community development, specifically in the Black population?
Yeah, so previously, and when I maybe up to about 2 years ago, under Canaan Community Development Corporation, you know, our mission was to foster social and economic empowerment. And we did, like every other CDC, we had programs and services for people. And we were continually helping people, you know, we were lifting others as we lifted ourselves. So we said, but in the last couple of years, Jud, what I've just kind of realized is that year after year after year, while we had these programmatic services and they were helping people, but it was just enough to kind of just get through the year. Because every year we were starting the rat race again and again and again, and we were helping the same people through the same year. But nobody ever advanced to a point where we did not need to help them.
Yeah.
And so that to me seems just really silly, right? I mean, so if we say we're empowering people, we should empower people to a point where they no longer need us, and then they start to empower someone else. And so the Black CDC, with the name change, we also did a mission change, if you will, to mainly now to empower people enough to where they are able to sustain or grow in their life. Yeah. And so we creatively transform spaces to build a self-sustaining community. And that's kind of, it's neat, and it sounds really, special, if you will. But all we're doing is making sure that we secure the spaces that we're in, meaning we either own them, or we're working to own them, or we're empowering other people to buy them and to own the spaces that they work, play, and live. Because what we know is that will give us stability and help us to get to a point where we no longer need someone else's hand. I don't want to say out, but hand up, right? Yeah. So all of the things that we do now, and I don't call them programs, but all of our initiatives have either a revenue generating component to it, or a entrepreneurial spirit, or to it. But we're just not doing that regular day-to-day programming. We're just not doing it. If there's not a way that we can make enough money to continue to do what we're doing ourselves without grants and other things, then we're probably not the ones that's going to do that. There are some other organizations who are doing programmatic things, and we will support them as much as we can, because all of those things are needed too. Yeah. But that's not the role of the Black CDC at this point.
Yeah. So talk about some of the challenges that those that you're working with are facing, specifically kind of structural challenges that we need to be aware of as a larger community. And then you have some success stories. I mean, some stories where people are really, and what are the ingredients to the success stories? That's always an interesting question.
Yeah. So first off, the success stories I do. So one of our newest initiatives is called Opportunity Corner. It's at the corner of 18th and Magazine. And this is a vision that I had about 7 years ago at this point. And we've been actively trying to make this happen for 7 years. And it centers around entrepreneurship and giving people the opportunity to grow a business. Or to develop one, to take a hustle, a side gig, and make it a legitimate full-time functioning business. And so we have a corner that we call Opportunity Corner, that it's a resource center, that inside this space we will bring people to help mentor new business people. We'll have workshops, classes, different things. It can just be a workspace for a new business owner that just needs to, get out of their house and actually go somewhere every day to work on their new vision. And in the back of that, it's called Opportunity Corner Marketplace. And that will launch November the 27th. It's in the back. It's going to be an indoor, outdoor, year-round marketplace specifically for small Black businesses. They'll test their products there. They'll, if they have something that they know is successful, but they just need, their customers need to know every weekend, I can go here and get this product, because they're not quite ready for brick and mortar, or they may never be ready for brick and mortar. Might be an internet business, but we give them the space and the opportunity to test all those things out before they just dive in and, maybe be unsuccessful. So Opportunity Corner has been my latest, I think, success story, as well as the Hope Wellness Center. And that is an after-hour urgent care or prompt care facility in the West End. And that came out of a need twofold. I had nurse practitioner friends who wanted to launch their own practices, but couldn't afford it. And then we also needed after-hour care for residents in West Louisville. So I just said, well, we'll merge these two. If I will give you a space to practice, but you have to practice for this demographic, you have to make sure that your top priority are the people that live in this community. And so it was a happy match. And the Hope Wellness Center, gosh, is it's really on the map now. So much so that we recently, just yesterday or day before yesterday, Jud, there was on WDRB did a story. We now have the rapid COVID test, 15-minute results. We are the only clinic in the city that has that test. The next, Frankfurt and Lawrenceburg are the only other two places in Kentucky right now that have that. And so our phones have been ringing off the hook. Now, ironically, the people that want this test and are coming to get the test are not residents of the West End.
Yeah.
And so I don't really have an issue. I'm not struggling with it so much, but kind of, sort of. Because if I had asked someone to maybe come to 26 and Broadway to do anything else, I've done that. And I've heard people say, oh, well, I don't know, because they don't want to come to that part of town. But now we have something that some, other people don't have. And so it's not a big deal to come to 26 and Broadway. So, our community, we just need to work through some things and to have some honest dialogue like this, right?
Yeah, right.
So I don't, I'm not pleased. I hope nobody is taking what I'm saying to be condescending or bad or anything like that.
You're
it's
just
factual.
Yeah, well, you're pointing out the Louisville's historic geographic segregation is a significant issue, and we're going to have to find ways to bridge that.
So one of the ways I think too that the community can and other people can be successful is almost like what we're doing. If you just acknowledge certain things and let things happen, and then intentionally try to correct and fix things that aren't working out, then we all can be successful. But one of the things that I want people to know, our community to know, is that Black people, we don't really have a problem doing things and it being successful, right? We just need the opportunity to be able to do it and to have full control and leadership of doing it, right? I mean, I didn't just become who I am. I've always been this person, but I think I've been given the opportunity to kind of to kind of guide my own path, if you will. And now I'm having more successes because of it. And I have the resources to do it. I'm not dependent on someone else to do it. I'm able to do it for myself. And that's why it's successful.
Right. Well, and I think that as we talk about, creating a more equitable Louisville, building Black wealth is the real key denominator. If Black communities or any communities have resources, they can get the healthcare they want and need. They can get the education they want and need. And so wealth is a driver. While we're not trying to say we all need to be, billionaires, we all do need a certain level of, and it's not just income, it's wealth, right? And I think that's an important distinction.
Right.
And it's not just, can Black people have jobs that bring in income, but can they own the businesses that are bringing in that income? Because it's ownership of a house or a business that has really cultivated white wealth. And so it's creating opportunities where Black communities or minority communities are able to have the same opportunities and resources to cultivate that wealth as well. And so I think Black entrepreneurship, whether it be for-profit or nonprofit entrepreneurship, is the way to build Black wealth in Louisville. And so I think the Black Community Development Corporation is a really good investment. I also think trying to locate and uplift, I think as white people start, both white organizations and white individuals start asking the questions about reparations, like what do we need to do to make it right? I think finding places where we can give money so that it does benefit Black communities, specifically
Right.
APOs. And I think these Black, what you're creating for me is a really good opportunity for white people to think, if I have some personal responsibility, or if our city, has a responsibility for some kind of reparations in order to make things right, what you all are creating are great containers to do that work. Again, so it's not white organizations that are doing it. It's Black organizations that are doing it the way Black organizations want to do it, and they keep the money in their own communities.
Right. So like Opportunity Corner, for instance. So we built that, okay? So we own the structure, but we don't own the land. So I don't technically own it.
Oh, right. So
it sounds good, right? But technically I don't. So if I can't sell it, I can't.
You won't get the benefit.
I can't gift it. I can't. No. I mean, so right now, while I appreciate that we've been able to do this on this lot, and that we have the license to operate on this space, I'm not done though, because until we own that ground that those containers sit on, and that the marketplace, that until we own that, I'm not satisfied, because again, I don't really have anything.
Well, because you won't develop equity in that space.
No,
there's no.
And so you're exactly right. And so that's sort of, we've got to get past that. Okay, well, we've given you the opportunity to do this, but you got to go. It's deeper. It's deeper than that.
Well, and I also think, and this is what I'm hearing. So help correct me if both in the nonprofit and for-profit world, it also feels like there's some assumptions that come with the way white people did things. And then, so the business models everybody has to follow may not be the same or natural business models that Black people of color may create. So how are we both sensitive to that? Like, not make people have to participate in a white structure to do, cultural shifting, that they could do it out of their own natural sense of, this is the way we do community. This is the way we do, community businesses. What's your feeling or thoughts about that? Like, is that?
So, well, you're right. I mean, that's what makes Opportunity Corner, I think, different from when you talk about like the SCORE program. And, there are so many small business programs, right, that help people move their business from this to that. And so what I'm proposing is no different than a SCORE program. However, the difference is I know about the people that are starting these Black businesses, and I know that they've probably started their entire business off of their own money that they've saved, or they went and asked grandma, grandpa, and anybody else to kind of kick in. And so they're starting a business with the extra $20 they had this week. They're not in a position to go get a small business loan or any of that. So them writing a business plan means, let me get my business up and going, and then I'll write down what I did. It's not, let me write the business plan and work this thing out. It's just not, right? And that's just because we've been in a position that anything we were going to start and do, that's just how it had to happen, because we've not had the family wealth and backing of most white small business owners. We've not necessarily had the resources to go into a bank, the credit scores, the collateral, or anything like that, the capital to start and go get a loan to get everything you need. We've not, those opportunities are not and have not been given to small Black businesses. So we are allowing the businesses to grow how they grow, and then we add the stability and the structure and the legitimacy to them as needed, right? So like, I'm not gonna tell a business if they don't have their LLC with the state that they can't do a pop-up market. Because I probably won't have many if I did, right?
Sure.
But what we're also going to do is not allow them to continue to work and to do and not have that conversation when the conversation needs to be had.
Right.
So we're not going to close the door on them before they get started, because I understand that that's just not how we do. And it's culturally different. There's no other way to describe that, and there's really no way to change it. Because it just is what it is, right? Yeah. So what we are going to do is just become that piece of the puzzle to try to connect the two.
Well, and I think that's so important right now. And so for those that are listening, what are ways in which we can support your organization? What are practical ways? Also give out and I'll put it in the Facebook chat when we're finished, if it's okay. If you want to put in the chat box an email address that you could be contacted on, I'll put that in the Facebook link as well. So how can we be supportive of you in the work that you're doing?
So of course, financial support is always needed, and you can do that via our website. You can make donations through the website. And or you could, again, reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk through all of the initiatives that we have, because what I want people to do is, although when you go to the website, it's going to say donation because I'm a nonprofit, but I have started to use the term investment with people when they're talking to me, because I want people to know and understand that what you do for people in the West End, whether it be businesses or even with our nonprofit, when you donate or when you invest in the Black CDC, that's truly what you're doing, and you will see a return on your investment. Now, what that return looks like and means to you could be you've helped and you feel great about it, right? So there's your return.
Yeah.
But then also, because many of the things that we are doing, they have a revenue component to it. Now, we're a nonprofit, right? So we can't pay out investment, but I can show you that your money has made us money, and it continues to allow us to grow. So your one-time investment truly very well could be a multi-year investment back into the CDC, just from me showing you this $5,000 helped 8 more businesses on, at Opportunity Corner, and it grew this. Now they're able to actually pay a vendor's rent, and this is what it is, So it truly is an investment. And until the entire community sees what they're doing for the West End as investment, and it's not, we're not just throwing money at somebody and hoping everything turns out, it just needs to be recognized that there is, there's wealth, there are hidden jewels, there are very visible jewels in the West End, and it's all about the narrative, right? Yeah. I mean, because what the city has heard over and over and over again is, oh my gosh, what can we do for the people past 9th Street? How do we fix the West End? How do we,
And yes, that's the narrative that's got to change. Right. One, because it's not true. West Louisville has been doing. That's right. Has been working it and doing it all this time. And the other is that still doesn't change the power, right? That keeps turns it into charity, which we know doesn't create justice.
Exactly.
And so that's why I'm so appreciative of the model that you're using and what you're doing, and just who you are and your passion and energy behind it. I really do think this is Louisville's. If we can create equity in the Black community and other minority communities, Louisville will be the best place to live in the world.
I'm trying to make the West End the best place to live too. So, because one other thing the Hope Wellness Center is on the 2nd floor in Lyles Mall. By the way, if anybody needs a COVID test today, we're doing the free drive up till 5 o'clock, and you'll probably get your results in 24 hours. So it's not the new rapid test we're doing, but the results are pretty quick when we do our test. But on the first floor, hopefully by December, we will be opening our fitness center. We have, it will be a state-of-the-art fitness center that will have a therapy pool and great equipment and all of that right in on the first floor of the Louisville Mall. So I'm making investment as well, and because I know that that's just what has to happen. You know, if we want to change, if we want to see different, we have to make different, and we have to assume that where there's sunshine and light, it runs out dark, and we know that. And so we just somebody has got to shine the light. So somebody has to, you know, if we want to say bite the bullet, take the risk, whatever, you know, an investment is a risk anywhere, whether it's in the East End or the West End. Right. So I'm saying, please, 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 let's just roll the dice. Let's see. But I'm almost 100% sure that things can change. Things will change if people decide that they want to.
Yeah. Well, Terra, thank you so much for your vision and your passion and the work that you're doing. Also, as one of my Black sisters, thank you for the black wave that created the blue wave.
That's right.
You all are the ones that were at the edge of all of that work. And so a deep bow to you for the work that you've been doing in that space at Louisville, and as we can see around the country. So
I will say too, I am a part of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which our vice president is
oh yes, that's right, our new vice president.
So we have been out, you know, helping people to register and to make sure that we got those folks in this time, and we did it.
We did, and there's a lot of movement towards how do we support Georgia now here, and so not to make this a political conversation, but an empowerment conversation. So thank you so much for giving some time today. And I want to encourage those that have been listening in, please get in touch with Terra and the work that they're doing.
I'm going to put my stuff in there.
You put that in the chat, and I can put it in after we end the call. But be looking for that. If you're watching on Facebook, we'll put an email address that you can contact her. And keep doing the good work, Terra. Thanks for who you are, and blessings on the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Jud.
Yeah. Have a good afternoon. Thanks for being a Louisville Evolutionary.
All right.
Peace. Thank you all. Thanks those of you that have been watching.